Thank you very much for joining me for a review of alternative science fiction miniatures for use in the Horus Heresy game. And today we're looking at a couple of blasts from the past, and what I've got is a set of turrets from the Kryomek game, and these are what they're called, Nexus Battlefront architecture. And there's like a missile turret and then two machine gun turrets as well. So yeah, so Kryomek was a game by Fantasy Forge from around 1990, 1991 if I remember rightly. I think these miniatures date back to around that time, so they're quite old. I think these are still in production, but through a different company. So, you know, when we look at these, I'm just going to look at it from the point of view of back then, and this isn't a rating a product that's produced by a different manufacturer today. Anyway, so what are these? So let's have a look. Let's start by opening these up. So let's start with this guy. So they come in these, or they came in these blisters, and you can tell the age because if you look on the back, we have a warning notification about not chewing or swallowing the miniatures because they actually contain lead. So this is before the switch to pewter style alloys. So that just gives an idea of their age. I picked these up on eBay for £5. It was an absolute bargain. Well, probably about £8 including postage. But yeah, absolute bargain. So let's get the bits out. So yeah, part resin, part metal. Let's see what it looks like. So what this does is, let me have a look. So this is a turret with two parts, and that is going to go like so. Let's say front there, so that's quite handy. And then that is going to sit on top of there, like so. And then we've got some white metal parts. We get two of these missile clusters, which are going to stick onto these points here. And then we also get a communications antenna, and that is going to stick onto this nubbin at the back. So let's have a little look at the model and see what it was like. So it's quite interesting, these. They look like they've just been poured into a mould. So I don't know if these are actually made with a vacuum type process or not. I mean, a lot of the detail is in sort of this rough surface texture, but still that's saying they're not bad at all. Bit of excess material to be removed there. Looking around the rim, that's probably going to need a bit of sanding to get it flat, and likewise here to get a good join. But that's just using a bit of flat sandpaper. Bit of cleanup required around there. You can tell that these are lead alloy miniatures because they're covered in white metal residue that's rubbed off from these parts, which is something that you used to get. Quite interesting. Of course, the reason the lead was banned wasn't necessarily because of a real health hazard from products like this. It was from the effects of tetraethyl lead, which was used in leaded petrol, or gasoline as people stateside would know it, and that was a real driver for banning lead in products. But it was just applied to it's quite applied universally in the end. Let's have a look at the base as well, or the body. So this is quite a nice chunky piece. So you've got these 4 hydraulic legs. And it's quite, I suppose it's quite symmetrical. There's a little bit of detail there, but otherwise pretty much symmetrical. The idea of these is, I believe, they were kind of dropped. They could be dropped from orbit or a transport aircraft to form quick set-up defence areas, or even moved as well. But they couldn't move in the game. Again, this is kind of like there's no casting gate or key attached. It just looks like it's been poured into a mould. so the right amount of resin was in it, and then that's taken the form of the underside. And because of that, there's probably, again, this probably needs some sanding to get it a bit flat. Looking at this, as you can see that when it was cast, the mould was broken in these tight little corners where the hydraulic rams are, hydraulic legs. That seems to have happened all the way around. And that's the sort of thing that can happen with resin moulds, where you have tight, sharp details. You know, you can get a thin piece of resin in the mould, a thin piece of rubber in the mould, and it can easily get trapped. And then, as you take the mould apart, or as a caster takes the mould apart, it breaks. That seems to have happened all the way around. So that'll need some cleanup there. But on a piece of battlefield terrain, I guess that's not too bad, and certainly for the price. Well, certainly the price I paid, no complaints at all. Yeah, it's quite nice. I guess you could, I'm not sure what you could use this in 40k as. Seems a bit big for a tarantula. Perhaps you could use it as part of an Aegis defence line, maybe. Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. It's not a quad gun, but if you could have maybe yeah, some sort of part of an Aegis defence line, or maybe a weapon turret on a Castellum stronghold. Okay, so let's take a look at the second turret. So these are a pair of smaller, what look to be machine gun towers, and there's two models that come in this kit. So I might just drop the camera down a little bit for this one. So again, it's a mixed resin and white metal kit. And on this occasion, we've got the resin turrets and bodies again, and then the white metal parts are these machine guns. These are actually light machine guns, if I remember, in Kryomek. They're called light machine guns, and those are going to attach on there like so. So let's have a look over these bits. So same manufacturing process again. No gate or key. A little bit of a nick there, so I need to do a little bit of tidy up around the base, or a little bit of filling perhaps. But otherwise, the casting on these looks very nice actually. Yeah, it's good. And with these, you get two different. I think there's two. Let's have a look. Oops, if I remember right from looking in the pack. Yeah, there's two different designs of turret. So there's one with a single machine gun mount and one with a twin machine gun mount. And then you have these bases, and then that is going to go like that, and then that goes like so. And you can have either a retracted gun stalk or an extended one. So perhaps these can be dropped on the floor. Perhaps these can be positioned behind fortifications and then raised and lowered according whether or not they need to fire, or perhaps it's just a way of increasing the fire arc. And then again the same on that one. Do we have a look at the second base? Yeah, similar to the first. Quite neat. I mean, I guess these guys are the right sort of size to use as tarantulas if you wanted to. And as I say, I think they're still available. Still available today. Although the company who makes them now is Scotia Grendel, if I remember rightly. Yeah, I think yes, Scotia Grendel. I'll leave a link in the description because they do a whole host of other resin tanks as well, I think, and turrets. And they do some large walkers that are part metal and part resin as well. I used to have one of those. They were nice models. Okay, so just to finish up, let's just take a look at what one of these can look like when it's painted. I'll just raise the camera back up. Move those into shot. This is a figure I had from, or a miniature I had from years and years back. And you can see it's the It's this turret here. Yeah, and I guess they paint up pretty nicely. I think I painted this about 25 years ago, a long time since, 25 years ago. It's one of those old models that for some reason survived in my collection. Yeah, it looks kind of like it's pristine and just been deployed or brand new. Yeah, so they do look pretty decent when they're painted up. I think, well, probably a bit more than pretty decent when they're painted up. They do look good. So there you have it. A quick overview of Kryomek Nexus gun turrets from back in around 1991. So thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.